let's not forget that when it does go up, it tends to go up multiples. So I completely look forward to, seeing 180 to $200,000 Bitcoin. I think we'll see that within a year or two. So
I agree.
we
By
just
the way.
wait, right? Bitcoin is the monetary network of the future. And even though today it's still kind of stumbling along and not that many people have adopted it, it ultimately will be adopted by everybody. I mean, Bitcoin is 10x a number of times. It went from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000. Well, guess what's next? It's going from 100 to a million. Then it's going from 1 million to 10 million.
Everyone expected another 80% bloodbath. Bitcoin gave them 50% instead. The veteran investor and fund manager, Larry Lepard, a name synonymous with Bitcoin, gold, silver, and sound money investing, says this bear market tells a different story from the ones before it. Past cycles crushed Bitcoin by 90%, 80%, 70%, and even the high 60% range. This time, a drop from roughly $124,000 to around $60,000. Painful, sure, but nowhere near the carnage of previous downturns. And Lepard has seen this movie before. Bitcoin has a long history of exploding higher, right, after periods of weakness like this one. He's calling for the next major advance to carry Bitcoin into the $180,000 to $200,000 range, with that move playing out over the next 1 to 2 years. He's not the only one watching that number. Crypto analyst Crypto Tice is eyeing the same $200,000 target, backed by a long-term cycle chart mapping Bitcoin's previous market moves. The projected window, 12 to 24 months from June 2026, landing between mid-2027 and mid-2028, with 2027 as the more likely arrival point. But here's the twist. Lepard admits the last bull run didn't hit the moonshot numbers everyone expected. Some might call that a warning sign. Lepard calls it something else entirely, growing up. As Bitcoin attracts more capital, more institutions, and more mainstream adoption, the wild, explosive swings of its early years may be fading. Lower volatility, shallower drawdowns, steadier climbs. For Lepard, that's not Bitcoin losing its edge. That's Bitcoin becoming exactly what it was always meant to be. Sound money, maturing in real time. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest Bitcoin updates, crypto insights, and market analysis.
Well, look, trying to predict the price of Bitcoin is a very hard thing to do and always has been. It kind of trades like a wild animal. It just doesn't do what you would expect it to do. And that's why hodling is so hard. You might, when it was going through 100 and it was 124 last October, or, I was convinced we were on our way to 150, 180 this year. And, sure enough, we weren't. And so I was dead ass wrong. And it looks like, I was kind of thinking the 4-year cycle had kind of dissipated. And now that we were in a broader audience of participants, including, institutions, the government, et cetera. But turns out, no. So here we are back in a bear market. And it looks kind of like all the other bear markets, although slightly different. Each one has its own different flavor. And as we were saying earlier, before camera turned on, it's interesting to me that this hasn't been as deep. I mean, this is an asset that in prior bear markets went down 90, 80, 70, high 60%. And, we were at 124, I believe, round numbers, in October of last year. So, now, I don't know, 10 months ago. And, we're at 60, 59, I guess now as we look at it, but roughly 60 today. So that's 50% drawdown. So, the drawdowns have gotten smaller over time, and maybe the upside has gotten somewhat smaller too. I mean, I know a lot of us thought that the last run up would take us much higher than 125, and it didn't. So, but this kind of fits in a little bit with the whole notion that it's becoming a more widely adopted asset with less volatility. And a lot of people who study it and look at the volatility of Bitcoin have noticed that it is going down. And you could say, that's in my view, it's a good thing, because what it reflects is that there's a deeper bid and there's more adoption, and that it's not fickle. And I think the objective of bear markets is to weed out the tourists, as you said earlier, and to test who really has conviction. And it also gives you great buying opportunities. I mean, I didn't when Bitcoin was at 125, I never thought I'd have a chance to buy more of it at this kind of pricing level, and now I do. And since I have substantial gold and silver assets, I've been able to sell some of those and use it to buy this cheap Bitcoin. So I remember a time, and it wasn't that long ago, where I was thinking to myself, gosh, if we could just get to 40 or 50,000, boy, that would really be great. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't that many years ago. I felt that way. I mean, I remember being at Pacific Bitcoin, sitting with Lynn Alden, having that conversation, and here we are. And I mean, here we are, and we're at 60, and this is in a massive correction. So, okay, that's higher than the number I used to think would make us okay. So, I mean, the point is that it's just, we're making progress. It's not always easy to see because that progress is very zigzaggy, you know,
Absolutely.
and the zags, the downdrafts are no fun. I mean, nobody likes, nobody likes this stuff, but this is the way the system works. And, let's not forget that when it does go up, it tends to go up multiples. So I completely look forward to, seeing $180,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin. I think we'll see that within a year or two. So
I agree.
we
By
just
the way.
wait, right?
$1 to 10 million. That's the trajectory Larry Lepard is putting on the table for Bitcoin, and he's dead serious. Lepard believes Bitcoin isn't just another asset. It's the monetary network of the future. Yes, adoption is still early, but he argues that's exactly the point, because once the world truly catches on, Bitcoin's value could rocket to $5 million per coin or beyond. The engine behind that number? The supply forever locked at 21 million coins. No central bank can print more. No committee can change the rules. That conviction places Lepard among Bitcoin's most ambitious believers, the ones betting it eventually becomes the world's reserve currency. Skeptics scoff, calling it pure fantasy. But history, Lepard would argue, has a habit of proving the skeptics wrong. Here's what really fuels his thesis, though most people simply cannot wrap their heads around exponential growth. Our brains think in straight lines. Bitcoin moves in explosive leaps. Lepard lays out the pattern plainly, a relentless march of tenfold jumps. $1 to $10, $10 to $100, $100 to $1,000, $1,000 to $10,000, and $10,000 to $100,000. Each leap once seemed unthinkable. Each one happened anyway. So what's next? Lepard sees the path continuing from $100,000 to $1 million, and eventually from $1 million to $10 million. The catch is timing. As the market swells and matures, he expects each 10x climb to stretch out longer than the last. Let's get back to the interview.
Bitcoin is the monetary network of the future. And even though today it's still kind of stumbling along and not that many people have adopted it, it ultimately will be adopted by everybody. And when it is, guess what? These are 5 million a coin or more. So, because there's a fixed supply. I mean, the other thing is we all talk about, it, but other people don't understand is we've never really had anything in the world that was this scarce. The fixed supply of every other commodity, even every other stock. I mean, they can issue more stock, but they're 21 million of these things. And so, that it kind of breaks the human brain because as, Giovanni, who's on X/Twitter, does a great job of talking about the human brain just doesn't really understand exponentials that well. And so, I mean, Bitcoin is 10x a number of times. It went from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000. Well, guess what's next? It's going from 100 to a million. Then it's going from 1 million to 10 million. Now, each of those 10x, each of those, orders of magnitude took longer, and that's okay because, and as you would expect, as it seeps out and gets more widely adopted, it becomes less volatile. But, until I see evidence that adoption is slowing, I don't see any of that. Until I see evidence that adoption is slowing, I just want to stay parked on this train because I just know where it's going. So, but it's very hard. I mean, if you're chasing money, if you don't understand what it is, if you're chasing last year's gains, et cetera. I mean, Bitcoin, we're in a 16-year window. So, and in my opinion, there were a lot greater risks 10 years ago. I mean, you had fork wars, you had protocol wars, you had we didn't know what the government was going to do, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, a lot of the risks have gotten stripped away from it. New ones have emerged. The quantum one is there, but I don't think it's. I have zero concern about quantum. Some of the protocol stuff on the ordinals and stuff that kind of bugs me. I think that's noise, but it's annoying. I mean, to me, this is the monetary network of the future, and the sentiment in Bitcoin is dreadful. The sentiment in silver and gold is dreadful, even though silver and gold broke out and shot up a lot last year. And the world is thinking that Warsh is a hawk. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that could really change the world. I'm not predicting this is going to happen. Okay, it probably won't. But what if the next Fed meeting came along and Warsh said, you know what, we've redefined the inflation numbers. They're backward looking anyway. Things are coming down because the war has been settled. We think there's a lot of AI productivity, and this is a new day at the Fed. We're looking through the numbers, and we believe in, it's really not, we can't backward look. We got to forward look, and we're going to get a lot of productivity. And therefore, we're in a position to cut interest rates, and we're going to cut rates at this meeting. If that happened, okay, just hypothetically, if that were to happen, do you know what would happen to silver and gold and Bitcoin? I mean, they would explode. I mean, not just a little bit, like a lot, because the entire boat is leaning in the, Warsh is a bulker, Warsh is a hawk, higher rates are coming, you don't need any kind of sound money. And, and if he were to reverse and prove that that's not the case, everyone would go, Jesus Christ, these sound money guys were right. They can't ever stop printing. I mean,
Bitcoin continues to challenge expectations, rewarding those who focus on its long-term direction instead of short-term price swings. Every market cycle brings uncertainty, but each phase also adds to Bitcoin's growth, wider acceptance, and stronger foundation. As adoption expands and supply remains permanently limited, many believe Bitcoin is steadily moving toward a much larger role in the global financial system. For investors, the biggest question may not be where Bitcoin trades next week, but whether they are positioned before its next major chapter begins. Do you believe Bitcoin will reach $1 million before the end of this decade? If you found value in this video, take 2 seconds to subscribe. It genuinely helps us keep bringing you this kind of analysis. We're on a mission to hit our first 1,000 subscribers here at Bitcoin Frontier Hub. Let's build this community together.